Trying to lift the vibes right now.
Oh, look at that red banner. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Boo.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into the Losers Lounge.
What is up?
What is up?
What the hell?
What
is up?
One of the many questions to be asked tonight. A much-needed therapy session is in store here. Emotions are high. You know, the Smuggets have losing has really. It was a meltdown online today, man. I'm telling you, my mentions nothing but horrible takes, like the worst takes.
The worst. I'm like fighting bad takes, but I'm realizing like why am I doing?
Yeah. Oh, that's why. There was one in particular that I was like responding. I'm like, what am I responding to this for? Like, what?
Yeah, like if you really are like as upset as I'm saying on Twitter about this game, like basketball might not be for you. Like you should probably get into.
No, it's all right. Let the emotions out. Everybody gets the opportunity.
You're totally right.
You say this all the time. This is the best way to feel emotional. Just get them out there. So keep sending them to me. If I don't respond, doesn't matter. It's just get them out. Let it out.
I sent out a big picture tweet at the end of this game and just got killed in my mentions.
No,
Absolutely
Harrison,
slaughtered.
it's not okay.
Absolutely slaughtered.
So Nuggets dropped one, and look, it was ugly. We're not sugarcoat this. There were some things that I think there were things that are I think very concerning about this one. Not the least of which was Jokic not closing the game for reasons we are yet to hear. Okay. Just about getting some rest, so they do have a back-to-back. And let's be honest, when Jokic went out, there was more time than usual to pull but at the same time, my confidence level was at 0.1% that the Nuggets were going to come back. So
he went out at the 4:41 mark.
Yeah.
Nuggets were down by 14.
Yeah, and it was like that. It was such a quick up 10, down 14.
31-3 Celtics.
31-3 run, and we're gonna have to break down all of that.
What did we just watch?
I know. Oh, the vibes were so good. I was feeling so good. When Jokic checked out in the third quarter, I, first of all, knew the bench was going to collapse. I just didn't think it was going to be that quickly.
Right.
And it was like, feel good about this. You get that, to come out, you come back in with Jokic, this or that.
Well, that's how it was supposed to end. The bench was supposed to collapse. Jokic was supposed to come back in and win the game.
Does that even count as a collapse? Like a collapse assumes that you were in a standing position.
That's so true.
The bench, they just were non-participants. They were traffic cones. Like they couldn't make or stop. It was so.
I'll tell you, the number one thing that really bothers me about this one is Los Angeles, New York, Boston. The three media machines. Yeah, and my God, the takes I'm seeing on the timeline tonight from reputable people that have MVP votes was like incredible. Did they not watch the game I watched?
Well, probably not. First of all, I mean, also, the people who cover the Celtics, there's a lot of MVP votes there.
A lot. That's what I'm saying.
It's like 4 or 5.
Yeah. And the takes I'm seeing from these people today, I was like, what on earth are we doing here, guys?
Jason Tatum in the MVP?
Jokic at one point was the plus 18 when the team was down. I think when he checked back in, a plus 18, and the team is losing, and he'd only sat for, I think, 8 minutes at that point. So, whatever. That just reminds you that the world is very unfair.
Of what it is that we're actually up against. Like, the Nuggets need literal perfection to be able to be in the good graces of the larger media.
Totally.
Right. We joke that Fraud City was a bygone era. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're just in our bubble. Like, we're feeling so good inside the bubble. As soon as you poke your head out, and people are like, Jokic is good, but what?
Part of me hopes it's gone. Part of me hopes it's not. I'm kind of torn on it, to be honest.
All right, well, let's ask the big question. What went wrong tonight? Eric, I'll start with you. What if you could put one thing, though, one scapegoat, this is the thing.
I mean, it's the bench. It's the bench unit. It's J-Mike and Paul being in the game, but being just like adding absolutely zero to it. That bench unit having no chemistry of any kind. Just directionless, rudderless. Like they didn't at any point give me any feeling of like I knew what should be happening.
Yeah.
It was just like we were joking earlier because they were up so big that Malone has really earned the ability to have tinker time when it comes to the lineup. But man, he took it too far. He was tinkering too long.
Well, I think one of the things you have to learn from success, just like you learn from failure. And Michael Malone's one guy that I don't know if it's superstition or what, but he doesn't like to change up too much if you're winning. Like, it's working, we're going to stick with this thing. And look, that lineup that they have gone to without a center with the two power forwards, it's really vulnerable. It's had a few good games, but it's really vulnerable. And tonight it didn't work. It was very clear it wasn't going to work in that first half. Yeah. Second half, you go back to it, and there's a lot of things you can point to. Nobody handled that collapse well, but the fact that it happened was just so predictable. I mean, we were watching it. I honestly thought Denver's up 10, they come in. I'm like, probably going to be tied. Maybe Denver's up 2 by the time Jokic comes in, and unfortunately, even that was overshooting it.
So I asked Malone after that win over the Spurs 2 days ago how he's going to rotate through those 3 guys on the bench, JaMychal, Paul Millsap, and JaVale McGee. And he was pretty candid. He said, it's the toughest issue I'm facing right now. It's
Smaller
like my
tail.
biggest dilemma. And he pretty much said he's going to experiment with those 3, see how different combinations work. He's going to rest Paul Millsap on back-to-back, so I doubt Paul Millsap plays tomorrow against the Warriors. I bet that's a JaVale McGee, JaMychal Green night, and that's where I think Denver eventually settles on who those 2 backup bigs will be. But at least based on what he said the other night, he's going to try to experiment with these 3.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get totally locked into a JaMychal Green, JaVale McGee pairing, even if that is the best duo, because he wants to keep Millsap kind of in it a little bit, I think.
And I think it's fair. Like, look, that second unit is going to be situational in the playoffs. There's going to be teams where you say we want to try this or that. The thing is, this is a tough criticism I'm going to level, and maybe even a little bit of an unfair one. I don't think Michael Malone always guesses right about which lineup is the good lineup to put out, in any given night. And tonight, I thought it was a weird one to not just go to begin with, but also to stick with when it was so evident. I mean, it wasn't like the first half wasn't also a disaster. The first half, they were just as bad as they were in the second half. So I thought that one was a little bit concerning. Also, you only get, I think 14 points total from your bench, most of those in garbage time at the end of the game. So again, it's a lineup that just really struggles to score more than anything. I'll tell you another thing, though, that I'm concerned about, actually, and I wasn't concerned about it until the final minutes of the game. I've said this a lot. Jokic doesn't get respect. He really has a hard time drawing fouls, and in this game in particular. But what is the thing teams can do that, at least in the regular season, always causes them a hard time? Bullshit physicality. And I say bullshit because it's not like, we're just going to play you tough. There's that. It's like, let's just push. We'll use it. We'll push the limits to see what can happen. And Jokic, early in the season, I thought handled it well. Increasingly so, he's not. And look, Jokic looked like prime Larry Bird tonight for 3 quarters. I mean, you could not find a flaw in his game tonight for 3 quarters. He comes back in, put Grant Williams on him. Grant Williams just constantly getting on him, and every single time he's getting frustrated and getting flustered. So Jokic, no surprise, our king of the game. He was dominant, but at the same time,
there weren't that many choices, to be honest.
There weren't that many choices. There was really like him or Faku, I guess you could have your choices. But at the same time, I don't think he handled his emotions well in this game, and it's a growing thing. I think if you took the first 45 games of the season and the last 8 games of the season where they've been winning, Jokic is kind of starting to look like old Jokic emotionally.
It's true. I don't know. I mean, the thing is like his emotional floor has raised to a point where, I mean, earlier last year we had a game where he didn't shoot the ball. Like it's not like it was. Like he's.
Do you feel like he was taken out of the game mentally in that fourth quarter? The game was already out of hand. Like you have to imagine how frustrated he was playing a near perfect game for 3 quarters and have to come back into a comeback.
I mean, he was taken out of the game in that we were looking to him to do absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And his, what it is that we can expect of him is now like gotten to a point where it's like completely unfair.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I mean, I was frustrated watching it. I don't know that Jokic necessarily, I mean, he wasn't like.
Oh yeah, my emotional state was very volatile.
Yeah, he wasn't like, Jokic wasn't making like old dumb Jokic, like foul, trying to show people up. He was just like, what's going on here? Like,
I've just got to think it's just everything building up, the frustration with the officiating, the point in the season that the Nuggets are in. Tonight also seemed like they missed Jamal Murray the most out of all the games that he's missed. You could really feel that. And just the load that Jokic has to carry. I tweeted this out before the game, but he leads the NBA in touches, like by a ton. And that's partly because he's played in every game, but he also leads the NBA in touches per game. So it's probably just the buildup of a lot of stuff, but it boiled over tonight.
But it's been boiling over. That's kind of my point. Again, like Jokic gets like an A-, maybe a B+ for me, because that fourth quarter really was tough, and a little bit of it falls on him. But he was so great through those 3 quarters. But
totally
the emotional part of this, when does he need to flip the switch and say, okay, now I've tried to make my point. I've gotten the tech on purpose. Malone's gotten the tech. No, it's not working, guys. Like, it's just not going to. When does he need to flip the switch back over to this is the burden I have to carry?
Well, they got 19 games left now. It's a lot of games still.
Okay.
It's a lot of games. I'd say, in that 10 to 13 game range.
Yeah.
So he's got like 5 more games maybe to mess around.
Really get emotional. Yeah.
Get it all out of his system over these next
the problem
5.
for Jokic tonight is just that no one else was playing.
Yeah.
Faku was.
He was the second best. That's sad to say.
Michael Porter Jr. missed 1,000 3-pointers. I haven't checked. He missed 1,000 3-point shots.
I want to move on to Michael Porter next because to me he's the second most interesting. I just want to stick on
the idea that Jokic just looks around. He's like, are any of you? Is anyone else?
I think what we're getting at is Jokic has every right to be frustrated. There's a million reasons for him to be frustrated.
Yeah, but he was frustrated.
99 times out of 100, actually I should say, what are we at, 53 games? Maybe 48 out of 53 times this season that has not gotten to him. He's handled it and gotten the win, and it just, at least most recently.
According to Jokic from Vogt, Jokic on his frustration level. I was not much frustrated. Just a normal day for me.
Yeah, sounds about right.
What do you think about the picture of him that I've seen going around on the bench? I assume it was right after you got subbed out with like 4 something left and kind of outside the huddle, not really with anybody.
Bad look.
Yeah.
Bad look. Don't see that stuff from Jokic too often. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. I don't think it's a big deal either. I think that kind of stuff honestly happens more than people think.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But it's a bad look in the context, though.
Yeah. I think it's a thing that people that want to make a big deal of it are going to make a big deal of it. Like, I totally could see this leading. But we already saw Boston. This is what I'm talking about. Boston media is really like constructing a narrative around those kinds of things.
It happens though. Like the first time Jamal Murray subs out every game, he's sitting by himself on the bench.
Right.
While there's a huddle going on the floor. So it happens.
Actually, I'll go ahead and say it. Full much ado about nothing.
Sure.
But they're going to make a deal of it.
I know.
He was frustrated though tonight.
I know.
Despite what he tells us.
This is one of those games though that we just like in the pregame show we were like, and that Raptors lost. Like, what the hell was that? Like, that is this game.
Yeah.
That is this game. Like, they scored 8 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
As a team.
Yeah. I do, the thing about physicality, though, is real. And look, in the playoffs, Jokic plays through that, I think. The only time he didn't was against the Lakers last year. And who was it that we had heard from somebody that said that, I think it was Dwight Howard and the Lakers said that, Dwight Howard's in Jokic's head. And part of it's true. Like, let's be honest, he was. Because he was allowed to get so physical, it took Jokic out of the game. And that's why in that series in particular, he looked great in stretch, but he looked bad in stretches too. And I just think that that is the word on Jokic. Toe the line. You can get away with more than you can get against most guys.
Because he doesn't get any calls.
Because he doesn't get any calls. So just push it. And some nights he's going to snap and you're going to get a 6 out of 15 from him. And he takes himself out of the game, and I think that's a little bit what happened. But I have to say, to go kind of backwards, he was so great in the first 3 quarters. This is what's so frustrating about it. Those first 3 quarters, among the best I think he has had all year. And what's funny is he had 47 against the Celtics. I think it was 47 or something like that in the first matchup. They come out tonight so clearly they wanted to hey, we got to send different looks at him. Just picking him apart. A 3-point first half, dominant. Absolutely dominant first half.
In the first quarter, he finished with 0 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he was a plus 12, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely surgical.
And you felt like Jokic, totally. Faku was great. Some guys knocked down shots, everybody. But it was like Jokic is doing this.
Yeah.
Second quarter, too.
Yeah, it was the exact game he wanted to play, too.
Yeah.
Well, the most shocking thing to me is that not that the bench was a failure, not that we lost the lead. It's just that the starters came back in and could do nothing. Like after that horrible bench stint, when it was like, all right, fine. And then the starters were also a huge part of that 8 points only in the fourth quarter.
So that brings me to my second point here that I think is, the Jokic is such an important player that we have to spend a lot of time. I'm sure the comment's very upset about that. About criticizing the guy that was so
These ta-
clearly.
these
Takes are really crazy.
Oh my God, these takes.
Do you miss it
We're
at
not
all?
allowed to
Is there
talk
any
about
part of you that
we're
misses
not
it?
allowed to talk about the players because Malone put them in, but the players
Yeah.
need to make baskets.
We'll talk about Malone though.
So
We'll talk about
stupid.
Malone. We're not going to completely avoid Malone today. Michael Porter though is the next one because here's the thing: he finishes under 50% for the first time since March 2nd. So he went a nice run, and it was great. I felt this was brewing for the last few games. Michael Porter has been taking great shots and really fitting within the flow of the offense and cutting out some of the bad ones. Tonight, he had a lot of bad shots, I thought. And he missed almost all. I've had this on the list the other day where I was like, he went like 9 of 16, and I was like, but or maybe it was like 9 of 14. And I was like, of the 5 misses, 4 of them were just like bad shots.
Totally, yeah.
And you're like, what do you do? Like, if you just don't do those, you're actually 9 of 10. You probably get 1 or 2 more just by virtue of the ball moving. Tonight, I felt like the exact same thing. Why was he 9 of 23? Which, by the way, is not that bad. I mean, 1 of 12 from 3 is bad, but 9 of 23, not the worst to have for an off
That's the same
night.
that Jason Tatum shot.
Same as Jason Tatum. He goes 22 points, 11 rebounds, but I thought he had a lot of shots tonight that were just, as George Carl would say, thirsty shots. And
Totally.
So thirsty.
and maybe you needed a night like this with a loss to be, it's a back-to-back, so I don't know if there will be film room. But I hope that one of the coaches is like, hey, what about this one? What do you think about this shot here? Not one we need. What about this one here? You take a dribble, pump fake, your feet aren't set, you twist in the air for 20 feet. You know, because this was one where I do feel like it's been growing, but he's been making. Rein it back in and say, hey, here's your ticket, man. You're getting 20, 22 points a game right now off of good looks.
Sure.
Cut out the bad ones, and that's what people are talking about.
Yeah, when he's in his Klay Thompson mode, just catch and shoots, coming off Jokic DHOs, one dribble shots, getting to the rim, cutting and finishing, that's when he's at his best. That's when he's at his most efficient. And he, to your point, had a lot of shots tonight that were just
So
like,
thirsty.
This isn't Nuggets basketball.
Right,
Like
right.
This isn't what this offense is designed to get.
This isn't basketball. Like,
Yeah.
this is just like playing
This is
horse.
Boston Celtics basketball.
Yeah. I mean, Jamal Murray coming back into the starting lineup, like changes that entirely. Like the ball just goes to Murray. Like the ball goes to like Murray has the ability. I mean, we didn't see him jacking up this number of shots and just having
Right.
the light be so
It's a recent
blindingly brilliant green because Murray's not in.
Right.
Because there are more shots to be had, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll take them all.
Right. But part of it is, I don't mind him, honestly. Like 23 shots for Michael Porter, I'm cool with it.
Me too.
If
Yeah.
they're good shots and he
too.
can find them. What it is he's got to learn. If you want to call your own number, I've tried to explain to so many different times on the list and on different notebook pods or whatever. You can call your own number within the flow of the offense, and you can call your own number without the flow, outside of the flow of the offense. And he needs to learn to call his own number within the flow of the offense a lot more. And I just think he hasn't learned that. One of the ways, I put this on Twitter yesterday, one of the ways he can call it, that DHO game with Jokic, for him actually can be unstoppable because he elevates so high on his jumper. If you get a screen and you come off it and just go right into your jumper, either they jump to try to contest it and somehow made a miraculous recovery, then you just pass it back to Jokic and then run back off at the other direction, and it works. So he has certain things he can do that, like, hey, I'm feeling good, let me take a shot. You can do it. And tell me if you agree with this, Harrison. I felt like him taking and missing those bad shots tonight actually led to him missing his good shots, because when you miss 4 or 5 in a row off of really dumb looks, all of a sudden you're wide open from 3 and you're like, man, I don't know, I'm cold.
Totally.
No, you're not. You just
start
took bad
pressing.
shots.
You start pressing a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I don't know if you saw at a certain point, like after he missed one, and I think maybe it went to timeout, he like looked up and like really looked pained, like what is going on? Like, I mean, there seemed to be maybe nothing, maybe it's something, like when he had that dunk that he powered into the rim, it seemed like he hurt his hand a little bit.
Yeah.
And
it
then
did.
he didn't seem to make any baskets after that.
So he was 1 of 3 from 3 when he had that dunk. And I agree. I thought like he banged his hand a little. So he was 0 of 9 from 3 after
Wow. Is that true?
that. Yeah, he started 1 of 3 from 3, and then he was 0 of 9 from 3 after that dunk.
That's a little concerning, man, because you're right. He did reach for it or whatever.
And then he had the other play where we thought he was injured, but he was really just tying his shoe and tried to get in for the rebound.
So crazy. You go around. I thought Composite tonight really did a great job of running with that starting unit, and I haven't thought that very much recently. In fact, I kind of haven't liked him there, but he had a very nice chemistry with Jokic tonight. He had a very nice chemistry just running that unit and getting good looks. I mean, that first unit through 3 quarters was getting everything that they wanted.
Also, everything changes for Faku if he's hitting open threes.
3 for 3 from 3, man.
If he's going 3 of 3 from 3, yes, then he's a guy you can play 30 minutes a game.
He looked great. Faku looked great tonight.
Yeah.
He was really engaged. He was making a lot of good play. I mean, it wasn't just his shooting, but you're right. Like, that really is the difference between a good Faku game and a bad Faku game. Is like, if he's able to personally add to the score, that's when we're always like, okay, all right.
You guys want to know one really good thing that happened tonight in this game? It's already voting time?
We got to work on that graphic.
Oh, okay. Do you guys? I kind of like it though, Kale. It's great work. You guys will look forward to that.
We got to work on
really
that.
Good.
It looks like the man in the mask.
Kind of like it. One thing, we'll go to break here, but one thing that was great about this one,
we won a lot of money on Jokic triple-double.
Jokic triple-double odds boost, baby.
We told you.
Yeah, that was a good one.
We also know that time itself is not stopped because the Jokic assist overhit.
It was almost an epic Sombor double, though. It was almost an epic Sombor double.
With only 9 points.
He was sitting on 9 rebounds since the end of the third quarter and then didn't finish the game.
That's true. Even the assists hitting 10.5. He only ends up getting one more, so we had to sweat that one out. All right, let's hit a break. On the other side, though, we'll talk a little bit more about the bench. It's Michael Malone's culpability. Did he get out-coached by his nemesis, Brad Stevens?
Ooh.
Did he get out-coached? He did.
Yeah, he did.
I think he did tonight. I think he's not going to feel good about that.
He totally did.
All right, guys, make sure to pick up some Mile High City Copper Lager from Breck Brew. It's hard to miss. It's got that Skyline Blue Nuggets can with the Nuggets logo. We drink it at the bar all the time during Nuggets games. It's pretty light, easy to drink, perfect for any occasion. Sunday afternoon at City Park.
Yeah,
at the DNVR bar
session. After the Nuggets.
A post-game therapy session. Pick it up from Breck Brew, the farmhouse. You can get it at your local liquor store as well. Also, guys, you've seen those Jokic for MVP shirts that we've worn on the show, and those things might be worth a pretty penny in years down the line. That might be a valuable piece of clothing.
Shirt, absolutely.
Yeah. If you want one of those, super comfortable. You can get them in white. You can get them in gray. You can get them short sleeve. You can get them in long sleeve. Go to jokicformvp.com. The Colorado Hawks are the people behind those shirts. If you're not familiar with them, they're a youth sports organization which helps kids play sports here in Colorado at a really high level. They've never turned away an athlete due to cost. So it's awesome what they do in the community. They've got a lot of alumni, particularly in basketball, who are playing in college, coaching in college. So check them out, and you can get that Jokic for MVP shirt at jokicformvp.com.
All right, good. Back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast and live show, Losers Lounge here. Don't forget, this is always a podcast as well. So, this week I think we're actually going to start having live shows for non-game days. We got games on Monday, Wednesday, and might be Saturday this week. I can't remember. I think there's a 2-day break somewhere in here. But on off days, keep your eyes peeled because we will be back up and running with some guests in studio, which I'm excited about. So let's talk about Michael Malone and just what culpability you feel like he has in this one. I'll say we talked a little bit about the 2 power forward lineup. Trying to tinker is one thing. I really do think, though, this lineup, you just think about conceptually what makes sense for it. You have to have a player that puts pressure on the rim. You just have to, whether it's through rebounding, the dunker spot, or pick and roll, rolling to the basket, and neither Millsap nor JaMychal Green can do that. As evidenced by the fact that they tried to post up JaMychal Green a few times tonight, they were disastrous every time they did. Do you feel, Eric, that Malone carries some responsibility for this one?
Without question. I mean, there's no question that Malone did not. I mean, he just thought he had a longer leash on his experimentation than he actually did. I mean, clearly JaMychal Green and Millsap are not meant to play together. It's clear, it's obvious. I think that he wants it to work because both of those players are good independently, and he wants to have both of those players in the game. It's just we don't have enough minutes, and that's sort of the difficulty with having a team that has so many similar pieces that are all quality players. Like,
those two are so similar.
They're so similar. Yeah, they make sense like spelling one another, but together it doesn't work. And clearly that we saw that. It's tough because if you're talking about experimentation just in general, the concept of experimentation, to go away from it so quickly doesn't give any chance for success ever. Like you want to be patient about things and not just be reactionary. But I mean, he stuck with it too long. He absolutely did.
Yeah, so on the season, Nuggets have a negative 4.1 net rating with Millsap and JaMychal Green on the floor. Just under 100 minutes, so decent amount of minutes. 99.5 offensive rating.
And that offensive rating is the thing that, like the defense, whatever. That's actually really good defense you get from that unit.
Yeah,
but
103.6 defensive rating.
But the offense, I mean, we're watching stretches tonight where you're just like, they're no Hoper possessions. They're possessions where you're just like,
99.5 offensive rating on arguably the best offense in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a fan of it, but I just got to say, like, over the last couple years, I just have really come to hate criticizing coaches for their rotations and substitutions
It's
and
exhausting.
in-game strategy. I hate doing it, so I don't do it a lot. It seems like it doesn't work. I think eventually they settle on a Green-McGee pairing. I'm not going to say, like, it's the absolute end of the world if those two are on the court together. It's bad. It was really bad tonight.
It was horrible
But, I
tonight.
mean, I just don't want to, like, go all the way there.
last year, not playing Jeremy Grant at small forward practically all season, and then him being basically, the starting small forward. I mean, that's a criticism of how he handles the bench. Do you feel like that's not fair? Do you feel like maybe you're kind of making a repeat? Again, I think going forward is the time where you really start to try to figure out what works. So there is maybe a little bit of a watershed moment. Now let's see how you adjust. But do you feel like we could be running into a similar thing where it's, hey, what are you going to be playing in the playoffs? Start getting to that.
Yeah, eventually you do want to get to that, but you've got time. You got 19 games left, man.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably a part of this where Malone doesn't want Millsap. Checking out might be the wrong word, but he wants to keep him in rhythm.
Absolutely.
He wants to keep him engaged. And, maybe there's a time these playoffs when they need Paul Millsap. So I don't think it's the end of the world that Paul Millsap is still getting some run. I don't. It's not the best combo. I don't think that's where they end the season. But I just don't think it's the worst thing ever.
Did you like Zeke Naji today getting minutes at small forward?
I mean, it's difficult. Like, what does our ideal lineup look like for that bench? Like, I mean, this
This is part of it. The ingredients aren't really there, especially with Murray out.
That's what I mean. Like, Murray being out throws things into a weird place because then you move Faku up. Typically, Faku would have been a part of the bench unit, and then maybe Will moves over to the 3. Like,
so I think
Najee gets bumped out.
I think I have a lineup that I like with it.
Okay.
You go with your staples are Monte, JaMychal Green, and JaVale McGee, because I really do think having a pick and roll rim roller, especially for Monte, or if you slide Faku in there, Faku works there as well. I think the other two pieces are a little bit interchangeable, but I think that Dozier is the guy I would most often go to with a Monte. And then the 3 to me is a combination of Barton and MPJ. You might even run it MPJ in the first half, Barton in the second half, because you always stagger a little bit and give them one scorer, one guy that you feel like can knock down shots and gets to be a little bit higher usage player. Both of those guys, I think, want it, and with those lineups, you could probably get away from it. So, tonight they did play Barton with that unit. In the second, it didn't really work, but they didn't have a rim roller in there. They had just such a stagnant, easy to defend lineup that it just kills me.
I like getting Najee some run, though. I
do too.
I do too.
He deserves it, and it sucks that he's in this situation because I think Najee's really good. I think he's already a rotation caliber guy, even on a really good team like the Nuggets. And the fact that what happened at the trade deadline pushed him further down the rotation, even though he's been great for a rookie. So I'm very cool with him getting some run.
See, this is like where we get into these conversations of a single game versus the larger arc of a season and the larger arc of players' careers, where you do want to keep guys engaged. It is important to think about not just today, but what comes next. Like,
well, this is where Malone really shines. I
this
feel.
is absolute, and it does get frustrating in the moment because I agree. Like, that bench unit, the bench unit was so unbelievably terrible that you're just like, wow, you can't play these guys together. It's just not working. But it does speak to the idea of, like, okay, this is a game where we were out ahead. Like, Paul Millsap should be getting minutes. Like, Zeke Naji these guys should be getting minutes. It's a delicate balancing act, and it just didn't work today. It just didn't work today because that third and fourth quarter were just that fourth quarter is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was so bad.
The fourth quarter?
The fourth quarter when they
The third quarter was good, other than the last minute of it.
No, the fourth quarter, the fourth quarter, where just it didn't matter who Malone put in, nobody could make baskets. Like the starters couldn't make it. Like it just didn't matter.
Going into tomorrow night's game, how do you feel like the Nuggets should feel? Kick this one under the fridge. Like what do you do? Get to Golden State, and now you got a Golden State game on national television. Whatever.
Yes. What is the lesson from today's game that they're supposed to be burdened by and it's just that bench unit didn't work, right?
I think there's lessons from it. One, Michael Porter needs to understand where his efficiency comes from. It comes from smart. He's got to take it back a little bit. The bench unit, maybe you learn a little bit about what does and doesn't work. I think a little bit of this is also with Jokic frustration. One of the things I've thought about him was he has gotten frustrated in the first 3 quarters of games, and to where you felt like maybe it takes him out. Comes in the fourth quarter, locks in. It was the opposite tonight. He was locked in all game, comes back in, and he was like, he didn't even run back on defense after his misses in the post or whatever. So, it's a frustrating one. It is weird. You win 8 games in a row, and then it's like losses hurt worse.
Oh, completely. I mean, this is like we're looking at people are looking at this because of what we had going into it. Like, this is an ultimate indictment of the Nuggets in certain degrees, and it's like, dudes, come on. Like, come on, bros. You can't lose your head this much. Like, losses like this happen sometimes where something just doesn't work, and you're playing another National Basketball Association team with really good players.
My favorite take is I see it on the timeline from the usual suspects, the same people that always just have the negative slant for everything. Yeah. So it was like, what was it? It was the Toronto loss. Like, good teams don't lose games to teams they're better than. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, meanwhile,
literally every team loses games where you're like, what?
This is the NBA.
This isn't the NFL where, there's only 16 games.
The Brooklyn Nets lost with Kevin Durant back to the bench of the Lakers.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Over 20 points.
That's right. Yeah. Good teams don't do that, Eric. Real winners, real champions don't. And it's the same with a game like tonight. They were up by so much. Real teams don't lose a big lead. Like, they don't fold. It does just happen.
Once or twice a year to every team.
You know what? I'm already over it.
Yeah.
It's already over. It's all done.
This is why you come. You work it out. Like, you realize, I had some bad thoughts. Now they're gone. You just therapy session.
I'll say another moment I didn't like in this game at all. At the very end, game's already out of hand, so maybe it didn't matter. Aaron Gordon gets down into his predator stance out on Jason Tatum. Proceeds to get blown by and dunked on. And you think, man, this guy, you couldn't expect him to keep up the defensive intensity and execution that he had in the first few games, but it did suck to see him get dunked on.
I got to say, Gordon's defense these last 2 games,
it's fallen off. It's fallen off
a step.
There's a little bit of a decline. But again, he was playing playoff defense his first few games.
He got here and he's like, I'm going to make an incredible impression.
And he did.
I'm curious on Porter.
Okay.
24 hours from now, they've got another game on national TV against the Warriors. Is he at a point in his career where he can look at what he did tonight and say, I did not play within the offense. I didn't play the style that got me, that had me shooting above 50% for the last 20 games. Is he at a point in his career where he can recognize that, do you think?
I do. I only in that I saw him physically pained, realizing that he was just not playing well, not doing the right things.
Because I wonder if, tomorrow night he comes out and he's super aggressive with his shot because he's coming off a really bad game, or he just looks to fit back into the flow because he recognizes that he wasn't in the flow tonight.
Well, I feel like Jamal's going to play it next game, and it's going to things are just going to naturally take advantage. I just think there's no universe that Michael Porter Jr. shoots 11 3-pointers when Jamal Murray's on the floor.
Yeah,
probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Maybe. One thing I will say is Michael Porter, as much as I do think, his shot was missing tonight, I don't think he's going to be a guy that you have to encourage to shoot the ball. Nope. The fact that he went 1 for 12, what did Kobe always say is something like, I don't like to see a guy when he goes 0 of 6. That tells me stop shooting or whatever. I'd rather go 1 for 20 than 0 for 6. And I think Michael Porter is definitely cut from that cloth of
absolutely.
1 of 12. I'm about to be 2 of 13, baby.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I'm very excited for tomorrow night. just see how they bounce back.
Man, Brendan Vogt will be joining us live from Ball Arena. He might drive all the way over here and get here. No, he apparently only Jokic and Malone have talked, and they're just waiting. I heard this about Carmelo back in the day, that when Carmelo, everybody had to wait for him, obviously to talk to, and he was always an hour. And he would always show up to the locker room and like lotion and sit, look at the, and just like everybody had to be like, I got 5 minutes for my deadline.
That's actually a takeaway from Aaron Gordon's first 6 or 7 games in Denver.
This is what I'm saying. I know
he's
who
another
we're
Will Barton.
Yeah.
Those are 2 guys that always take their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to. Oh, actually, the biggest storyline that we didn't get to tonight.
Oh, God. I know where you're
Nuggets 7-0 in the cornrows era for Aaron Gordon. 0-1 in the Afro era. What is going on, Eric?
It has to be discussed.
I can't believe we took this long to get here.
Discussed. Listen, I mean, clearly it's an aerodynamics issue. There's just really no other way.
That's a great point.
He's slower. His head won't tilt around. He's getting blown by. Aaron, it doesn't look bad, but I mean, do you want to win?
I am so anti-fro.
You are? Anti-fro. See, I like it on Jared Allen.
Well,
I like it on Dr. J.
It just reminds me of the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, that's just it.
Wow.
And I said, like,
you think he wasn't feeling it today? That's why you think that's what happens? Your
He
theory
might have been in Orlando Magic.
It's a depression.
Wow.
It's a depression fro. He was in Orlando. He just let his hair grow, like the rest of us during quarantine. Like, who cares?
Right?
Let it grow. Aaron, we care.
We care.
We need you back, buddy.
You let us down tonight with not with your play. It was good.
yeah.
But with your hair.
With your hair.
Everybody's got to clean it up. Mike's got to lock back in. Aaron Gordon's got to
don't consider that we need to lock it in. Take is coming from new pro sweatpants Harrison.
What are some of your favorite iconic hairs, Eric, in the NBA?
My favorite.
I really liked Kobe fro. Kobe, like, it wasn't just it wasn't fro. Yeah, but it wasn't like that. It was like his own Kobe fro. It's his own thing.
I do like the trend. See, Colin Sexton has what should be a good haircut. But he goes too far with it.
You're right.
He's taking it too far.
You're right.
It's like when,
it would be an awesome, perfect haircut.
I like that like jutting hair going up, but his is too long. Rat tail, you're out. But I like the style. To me, that is the current style in the NBA that I appreciate and enjoy.
What was the big guy? Chris Kaman. Worst hair. He had some of the worst hair.
He just had a bad Cro-Magnon.
Some of my favorite hair was what Dirk and like Pau Gasol used to do. They used to have it really short at the beginning of the season and then let it grow out, and then by the time the playoffs roll around, they've just got so much sauce. It's like incredible.
Oh yeah, get it. I was gonna mention Rick Fox's hair. He had very interesting. He had like very good like dad hair.
Well, Rick Fox is just like a romance novel cover. So everything about him is like
true. That's so true. All right, what do we got? Super chat coming in. I can't read that far. I got my eyes.
Says, how much of the cognitive dissonance is based on how they're actually performing versus the absolute minimum margin for error in the West?
Well,
that's a lot of big words in that.
I know.
Yeah, well, that's a great, very well crafted sentence.
Yeah, it's a good sentence.
I think there's certainly something to be said for how tiny the margin of error, because people keep sending this to me like, I'm like, man, I've never been higher on the Nuggets. This team makes sense, this or that. And they're like, you think they're coming out of the West? I'm like, geez, I don't know. Like, every series is going to be like a freaking dogfight. I mean, like, literally every single one.
It's so true. I mean, I don't like that we're talking about like the Nuggets problems right now. It's like, I just feel the dissonance is that had today never happened. I mean, we were the Smuggets like 2 hours ago.
But the question isn't about that. The question is about just like,
well, sure, but
you have a little bit of a bad run, and all of a sudden you lose.
Right, but it's like the dissonance being like how they're performing, which is bad, based on how good the West is, which is I'm saying like they're not bad. To me, there's no dissonance.
They're 8-2 in their last 10. The Clippers, the Suns, and the Jazz are all also 8-2 in their last 10.
No, it's. I mean, if you're asking me,
crazy.
like, are they better than those other players in the West? Like, I think so. I really do think so. I don't think that. I mean, it's difficult to look at a game today and say like they're missing their second best player.
Yeah.
And they don't perform that well. It's like, okay, that nobody likes that as an excuse, but that. Different people in the game produce different results.
Should we let's hit our last break here. Brendan Vogt should be on the other side shortly. One thing I do, like while we go to break and you're listening to Harrison's beautiful ad reads, I highly recommend you Google image search Rick Fox hair. It's
beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It's not just beautiful, it's also interesting. There's so many different eras. So many different genres.
All right, guys, make sure to hit up Green Mountain Dental Group if you're looking for a place to get dental work done. A lot of us here at DNVR go there. Some of us have gotten our wisdom teeth out there, cavities filled, cleanings. If you schedule a cleaning x-ray exam at Green Mountain Dental Group, you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush, top-of-the-line electric toothbrush. So check them out today, located just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. Also, if you're looking for a hookup for coffee, check out Strava Craft Coffee. Make the switch from Starbucks to Strava Craft Coffee. Easiest switch I've ever made in my life. Easiest switch. Strava Craft Coffee has CBD. It's been known to help cure long-term migraines, back pain, arthritis, tons of other aches and pains that you might have. You can get it delivered every 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks, and 20% off with the code DNVR20. If you're a first-time customer, use the code DNVR25 for 25% off.
Well, how do you drink your coffee?
What's that?
How do you drink your coffee?
Like, you're saying hot or cold?
Just everything? Like, you're going to make a coffee. How's it go?
Hot, usually.
Whoa.
With just a tiny bit of cream or oat milk.
Hot is like
Oat milk? I should have guessed this one, actually.
Hot-
Boulder.
hot is-
Boulder coming in
Oat
hot
milk
here.
is legit, man.
Pragmatic win. Very healthy.
You've never tried oat milk? Great alternative to
Dude,
regular
but
milk.
hot coffee is such a throwback. Iced coffee.
I drink hot coffee.
You do.
Although it's
There's
starting to get warm
nothing
out.
better than a hot cup of coffee in the
You know what's
morning,
better
man.
than that? A cold cup of coffee.
In the morning?
An iced
Wow.
coffee. I drink iced coffee every day of the year. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. At a certain point, I realized that I could make iced coffee at home, and I feel like I unlocked a cheat code in life.
There you go.
Somewhere around the end of May is when I usually make the switch from mostly hot to mostly iced coffee.
End of May?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Seasonality.
Like summertime kind of vibe.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
iced coffee. Also, guys, you're probably paying too much right now for your car and home insurance. So check out Gabi, GABI.com. It stands for Get a Better Insurance. GABI.com/DNVR. Make sure you have that /DNVR in there. What it is it's a website that pretty much tells you how you can save money on car and home insurance. You plug in all your info, and Gabi runs it against tons of other providers, Progressive, Nationwide, Travelers. They'll tell you how much money you can save by switching a certain insurance. Gabi customers save $961 per year on average. Also, they'll never sell your info, so you won't be getting any of those annoying robocalls. Again, GABI.com. It stands for Get a Better Insurance. Gabi.com/DNVR.
AJ and Rudo, we got our Avs guys here. When the team loses, do people just bombard you with downvotes and stuff? Is it constantly? Yeah.
Conversation you're having later about losing to a bad team. And
Yeah.
Thinking that can't happen.
Yeah. Every single time, yeah. It just happens, and then today it's like we wrong them, you know. Like, like I'm giving you guys a downvote for how the Nuggets played today. Oh, look at your hair. The people wanted it.
They're asking, has
Wow.
anyone seen Derek's hair? Here's my hair.
This is a momentous occasion.
Wow.
This
Are you
is
always wearing a hat?
landmark moment?
Yeah, I've worn a hat every day of my life because
Right.
I like hats.
Oh, well, there you go.
I like hats.
Hat guy.
All right,
I'm
we
a
got a
hat
couple. We got a couple minutes to. Oh, I see oat milk +1 in the chat here. We got
Thank
a couple
you.
minutes to Kale here before Vogt joins us. Kale, keep your eye out for some good Nuggets questions if they come in. Super chats obviously to the top. Anything else tomorrow night? Golden State Warriors bounce back. Do you expect Jamal Murray to rejoin the team, Harrison?
I'll say yes. He said he's back.
He did say he's back.
I guess he's could be coming back tomorrow, and it definitely would make sense to bring him back, not on the first night of a back-to-back. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Denver needed him tonight. I felt like tonight you really noticed just how big of an absence that was, more so than the other 3 games he's missed. And look, he's going against Steph Curry. Steph Curry, his favorite player in the league. Maybe it could be a big showing.
It could be. It's national television as well. Eric, do you feel like Jokic could use a night off?
Yes.
Emotionally.
I mean, listen, I'm again like just if I'm basing it off of the human beings here in the chat, like, so yeah,
Hey,
go
half
Avs,
score. Who was it?
It's taxing. It's Andre Burakovsky.
Oh, right.
Could have been anybody else. But yeah, I mean, like it's a long season.
Yeah, I feel like the best player to come to Colorado in 2 years, any sport, easily.
Yeah, no, Jokic needs a night off. We need a night off. Like after, a performance like this or just a game like this where things don't really make sense, and you have to chalk a lot of what happened up to literally emotional, reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that if he got a day off. Although Jokic is such a battle tank, like I don't think he actually needs one. But I
wonder if they can convince him to take a night off.
Maybe,
because that's another ingredient to this. I'm sure they would be cool with him resting. Or having rested for some of these games in the past, but he doesn't
you're in
want
jail.
To.
You're
voting
in
time.
You phoned that one in.
I didn't make it. Freaking Kale made
Not
it.
the graphic, the term. I feel like we're
Voting time. What would you rather have?
I'll take it.
I thought it was clever.
Sorry, Kale. If I had known it was yours, Kale,
We're gonna
I
workshop
never
that one
would've.
later.
Maybe like in the voting booth or something like that. I don't know.
I am here though.
You are here. Vogt is here, and he just got off with what I can only guess. Let me guess. Malone, not happy?
Yeah, not quite as more short, I think, than angry. Just
Okay.
trying to get that thing done. I will say right away, my favorite Malone quote was, "The best part about the NBA is got a game tomorrow, a chance to right the ship. It is what it is."
I've heard that one before.
I know. Is that like a page out of Bud Black's?
But I'll go right to what I think a lot of you want to know about. Specifically, Michael Malone taking Nikola Jokic out at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. And Malone said, quote, "We're in the middle of 6 games in 9 days. We play again tomorrow night. Weren't getting much traction," meaning that group on the floor. Went on to say he gets frustrated with the referees, and you can understand that. But that can never take you away from your duty as a basketball player.
No.
Having said all of that, Malone clarified at the end and said most of this decision was about getting him some rest.
I think he's. This is spot on. I mean, Adam, Michael Malone. Handshake meme.
Two peas in a pod. I've
Two
already said
peas
that
in a
about you
pod.
guys,
Same
yeah.
thing. Oh, I just love we're watching right now hockey with a fight, and it just never fails to amaze me that this is the part of the sport.
I want this in basketball, like when
whose
second unit is just it can't make
Right.
it happen. They
Whose
just
value would be
send
up the most?
Faku in to just beat up Jason Tatum.
Faku just
Which
kicks him
Nuggets?
in the
Oh,
nuts.
Faku! I would love to see Faku in all these fights, man.
He would, if it was
Biting
allowed,
people's thighs.
people would seek it out.
He would definitely try to go for a leg.
Like
kick
if
or
they could
something.
just kick off their sneakers the same way that the Avs guys drop their gloves
Sneakers, yeah.
just to signify it's fight time.
Maybe just gloves right at the scores table. You run to grab the
Put
gloves.
'em on.
right. Immediately just untucks his jersey.
We're all over the place. Sorry, that was too cool.
And then a classic Jokic going left when Malone goes right. We'll go to Jokic, and here's Jokic on his, quote, frustration level, unquote. "I was not much frustrated. It was a normal day for me."
Just another day in the office.
I was much frustrated.
He seemed much frustrated to me.
I was gonna say.
Maybe his point is that he's frustrated every day this
Yeah,
season.
I think that's it.
The lie detector says that was a lie.
I think Malone was right. Obviously, we've hit on this in this show that we've been building to this point. I want to be clear, I want to stop short of calling this a problem, right, before it is one. But I guess, if you're just looking for any way that the MVP could be better, right, this is, one way. And it's understandable. I also think Jokic's attitude is understandable. Some of these calls are ridiculous, but that is the burden of an MVP.
It's his specific burden. He's just going to have to. JaVale had the great point the other day that he's going to have to win a championship and then he'll get the calls. I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I don't
I was
buy
gonna
it.
say.
But
I do want to say, too,
the first ever 5-time NBA champion that still doesn't get calls.
If you don't like the NBA and you heard that, you're like, he has to win before he gets foul
If
calls?
you were an alien
Can't he
who came down and had never watched
you're like,
an
can
NBA
he just
game
get
before?
fouled and get foul calls or no?
Yeah, it's like to get rich in this country, you just got to get rich.
I was going to say, it's kind of like life if you really want to be down.
I will say, my strong guess, fellas, is that Michael Malone has a better feel for his relationship with Jokic and what might strain
not
that
sure about
relationship than
I
we do.
feel like I have
saw
a
a photo on
pretty
Twitter.
good read on
Yeah,
things.
to be fair, I'm only rooting that take in reality. Nikola Jokic on the notion that he and teammates are too focused on officiating. Quote, "The whole 30 teams are complaining and whining, so we are just one of them."
That part's also
That
that's
part
true.
is also
That part
true.
is true.
I actually think every star complains as much as Jokic does.
You know what it is? Euros are more demonstrative because like if you ever go abroad where you don't speak the language,
Yeah, 'cause they're like-
you're so much. You talk with gestures so much
They're
more.
like, Zavelli.
Michael Porter Jr. on the second half. I remember going out in the third quarter with like 3 minutes left and we were up 14. And then all of a sudden they were up like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too.
Because that's what happened. He did
you
say
guys hear that?
the siren.
My favorite part about being here on Colfax, the sirens.
It's human distress.
Nature's healing. Nature's
It
healing.
just adds the texture I like.
Porter did add, guys, that this is the kind of game that, in his opinion, you just bury it and move on. At least from his individual perspective. And then finally, one more update. I think a lot of you want Michael Porter Jr. on the potential injury to that shooting hand he was shaking out. Quote, "I didn't injure it. I tweaked it, but it's not anything serious. It was on my shooting hand." He kind of laughs a bit and says, "But that's not why I missed 11 threes. Just one of those nights, and hopefully I never have another night like that in my career. But like I said, the thing about me is that I'm just going to bury this and move on."
Good. I mean, I think that's fine. I do hope that somebody points out some of the shots and
Some of the
says where
shots
they
were
put them
rough.
up.
Definitely.
But I do think it's not like a big deal. So
I mean, it wasn't a great process game from Porter, in my opinion, but also if, like, he just hits 4 of those open threes, we probably don't have to litigate that. So
have you logged on to Boston Twitter recently? Have
No.
you seen?
access to Boston Twitter?
Oh, unfortunately, you don't need access to it. It's
it
like
finds you.
it finds you, man. No matter where you were hit it on Earth. They have some takes on this game.
I bet they have some takes on this game.
Very much proof of why Jokic is not the MVP.
Just, I mean, yeah. Should we talk about Tatum's field goal percentage? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Only 2 people spoke today. So
Share us your takes. You missed the show. What are you thinking?
look, my understanding is that it's not uncommon for a winning streak to end in catastrophe. Like sometimes like wheels fall off.
So true.
So true.
You really can't streak forever. Hey AJ. I thought from a process standpoint, not like a big picture complaint, but they've been trending down for a few games without Murray. They've blown some leads, some bad habits.
It's funny. This is exactly
What you guys said.
what happened to the Avalanche. That were on just an absolute holy tear, which they're back on another one. But then they had one game where they just got beat down by, who was it, AJ? By Minnesota, which is like,
the Mild.
which is a team that you just absolutely do not want to lose to if you're the Avalanche, and it just feels a million times worse. And then just the next game, you're like, "All right, we're good again."
Yeah, I mean, that's that. Like, if they come out and they look terrible for 3 straight games, then we can talk about it. I just think, this, Porter had an outlier bad shooting night. The bench was extra bad, like with a cherry on top, and Jamal Murray didn't play. So it is what it is.
Where's Boston rank on teams you don't like to lose to? They're pretty high on my.
They're number 2 behind the
Really?
Lakers.
Behind the Lakers.
I don't have any. I don't care about them at all. They don't mean anything.
Because you lived in Boston, you have like good memories out
I just
there.
don't care about any team in the East.
I just don't.
It's like another league
To
as
me,
far as
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
concerned.
Like,
Back
I-
east, the Celtics
Except
are the
Philly, I
Lakers
guess.
to you guys.
Seeing the takes flying tonight from the big timers out in Boston, I was just like, my God, these
Oh, it's a
the
nightmare.
narrative shifters, shapers
It's a
that are
nightmare.
Nobody
out
in the
there.
green and white would ever do that.
Nobody.
No, yeah. For me, it's like lose to the Lakers sucks the most. The Jazz sucks the second. The Trailblazers sucks
Yeah.
the third. The Clippers, and then like basically every team in the West, and then the Celtics. Who cares? Like,
Philly's the only team in the East that's even just on my mind.
Yeah,
ever.
and it's only because of Embiid versus
Yeah.
Jokic.
Exactly.
Well, it's a drag to be starting out the week on an L, but you know what? We'll be back tomorrow with another game. It is the nice thing. You get to shake it off. And,
Shake it off, baby.
Oh, I have one more take.
Okay.
The biggest issue with this team right now, in my opinion, of course, the bench rotations. And I do think that entire issue is mitigated a bit naturally in the playoffs by just everyone leaning on their top 5 guys. Doesn't mean it's not an issue. Doesn't mean it's not something they want to figure out before the playoffs. But like if you had to choose as far as issues go, like figuring out the back 3 guys on the bench is like a good one going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
First world problem.
There you go. It is first
Totally.
Smuggett's problem, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody
Back
for
on
riding with
Smug
us. You see, it's a losers lounge. It's been a while since we've been here, but you're in the chat. You're here.
Yeah,
you're a real one. We
And
always say
I
that.
feel better. You guys feel better?
I do. I was
What
down
about
in
you,
the
bud? You feel
dumps.
better?
After this lounge?
Yeah.
I didn't really do it. I just sat there and waited for the
But after
people.
hearing from Malone,
Yeah.
Having some time to
That's right.
process.
After hearing
sort
from
of putting
Malone.
things in perspective.
I'll tell you what, this couldn't have been a better day to have this result, the early Sunday game.
So nice out.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, just like everyone log off tonight, like go home and just log off.
Watch a TV show.
Yeah, read a book.
Enjoy some family time.
Up,
Enjoy your
clean out the
afternoon.
bird feeders.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I'm gonna watch
That's what I'm
this.
doing.
I'm gonna watch this Avs dub and pretend it was the Nuggets and move on with my life.
I think I'm going to fertilize the yard. Maybe do a little, little garden prep.
Same.
And
Sunday afternoon
people are
garden
asking if
prep.
Smug Life is over. No, it is not.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
No, it is not.
It's just starting.
We're just
That's-
begging for that next loss.
The greatest
We're
thing
begging.
about Smug Life is that it powers on. Smug finds a way.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Have a great Sunday. We'll see you guys tomorrow.